You point out, in particular, beyond nutrition, cardiovascular disease and cancer. The two big killers in the world. And it's extraordinary what these guys say about our approach to treating that. Firstly, let's talk about cancer. You know, and I think people react, they get cancer, it's a hell of a moment for them, so they go, right, I'm going to go to the doctor.
They're clearly overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Anyone with cancer would be overwhelmed by that diagnosis.
Absolutely.
And generally they are told radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and your film points out that that is not necessarily the way to go, but we don't know that, do we?
Well, exactly. I mean, a lot of the people in our film are eminently qualified doctors, physicians, surgeons, researchers. I mean, they've done the research, and this information has been available for a long period of time. But what we need to be looking at is how we can actually aid the body's, you know, because when the body goes through a process, like when the body has cancer, that's in a stressful period of time for your body, you know. And we need to be doing everything we can to stack the deck in our favour, you know, by introducing all the proper nutrients and detoxifying the body as much as possible. And in contrary to that, a lot of conventional treatments really follow a much more toxic approach, which, I mean, our teachers point out in the film might not be the best thing to do when your body is already compromised with the disease.
That's right, already under stress. We're talking about it, but what do you mean? What sorts of foods? What should our diet be? And what sort of vitamin supplements do we need?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we could sit here for days talking about that. But I think...
And can you write a prescription, please, while you're...
Yeah, sure, no problems. I think the main thing that with the documentary stresses that we need to return to eating more foods as they come from nature. Less processed foods, less refined foods, and where possible more organic foods and more foods that have been grown where the soil has been treated properly, because quite often...
Rested and rotated,
yeah, exactly, where the nutrients...
Or not being treated at all.
Yeah, exactly. But handled with care. And eating these, and especially, I guess, another key point is raw foods. And most people might not know this. When you actually cook food, you actually deplete the enzymes and the nutrients in the food, especially vegetables and fruits and vegetables. So we need to make sure we're getting a high percentage of our diet, even 50% or more, is raw foods, because the enzymes in the food enable the nutrients to be properly dispersed. And that's easy by just putting salads or lots of raw fruits and vegetables with each little portion of cooked meal that you have.
OK, I'm worried, though, because there'll be people watching our show who know someone with cancer or who've been diagnosed themselves who suddenly say, I'm going to throw out my conventional treatment, and they don't have the knowledge to know what to feed themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
So we need to temper this a little bit, don't we?
Exactly. I think, I mean, and the primary aim of the film, and I guess there's so much information out there these days, but the primary aim of the film is to give people access to solid information about this. I mean, it's been quite a disjointed industry so far, and if you go Google cancer natural cures, I mean, it's absolutely overwhelming.
Sure, yeah.
But I think to try combine it all by bringing a combined and unified message of some good scientifically verifiable and research solutions, it gives people a lot more calming effect, and then they can choose for themselves what path or even a combination of paths they think would be best to cure their disease problem.
But it's extraordinary, the film points out the results that have occurred, you know, and there are numerous results that have occurred in both cancer treatment and in cardiovascular treatment through nutrition, but also through vitamins. And a lot of people think that, and as pointed out, the medical profession will often say, well, vitamins, don't worry about it. But in the film, they mentioned that they're putting in up to 1 kilo of vitamin C intravenously to treat cancer patients. Yeah,
I mean, the use of vitamins is really important. I think, first of all, because we can't get all the nutrients from conventionally grown fruits and vegetables these days. And by the time you have an illness, you're already developing deficiencies within the body. Sure. So you need to correct that pretty quickly. I mean, yes, it's not particularly natural to take large amounts of vitamins, but over time, if your body is being depleted of nutrients over time and then disease actually manifests, you're already down here, so we need to sort of turn that back quite quickly.
It makes sense that you need to bomb the body in that sense.
In supporting nutrients, yeah.
Sure.
Behind all this lack of information is the chemical industry. I think 25% of commercials on US TV
are about drugs.
Are for drug companies.
Now, we're not allowed to do that in Australia. That's a little bit different in the US, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, it's not allowed in Australia yet. I think they're looking to allow it in the UK, and hopefully it doesn't happen in Australia. But, I mean, it's big business. I mean, it's big dollars, and that's fine. I mean, commercial industry makes money. That's fine.
But the result is they're not interested in pushing the nutrition line.
No, because, as I mentioned before, you can't patent an apple or you can't patent healthy food, so you can't make money off selling healthy food. You know, there's no money in advertising selling healthy food, but there's money in advertising a patentable formula that corrects symptoms but not potentially the underlying cause.
Are there superfoods?
Certainly.
What are they?
Well, superfoods are foods which have extraordinary nutrient qualities. You know, if we're looking at what makes up the body, it's these elements, these nutrients and minerals. And so there's been this tendency towards discovering these foods that have these extraordinary nutrient qualities. And I guess people have heard a few of these days. You've got like the goji berry, raw cacao or raw chocolate, which is the bean of the chocolate. There's like incredible, powerful properties in these sorts of foods.
Echinacea and
Precisely,
raw honey and all that.
Herbs and all these sorts of foods, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm stunned by that because, you know, when you think superfoods, you know, we read about it in the newspaper, they'll say eat broccoli, eat, you know, blueberries or whatever. But you're talking about things that perhaps people have never heard of. I mean, goji berries, for instance. Most people would have never heard of those.
Well, that's right. I mean, there are lots of these foods that people haven't heard of. But as well, the humble foods that we sort of think of as quite normal are extremely powerful. Green leafy vegetables, broccoli, these sorts of things are astounding.
James, where can people go if they find themselves very unwell or they want to learn more? I mean, where do they go to find this information? Where is the clinic that treats them naturally?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and it's different depending on where you live in the world, and it's different depending on what part you live in each particular country. But there are doctors, there are physicians, there are nutritionists, there are naturopaths that have this knowledge that are in your local community, and you just need to look for it. I think the best place to start is to do a little bit of research and learn about how your body works and learn about how you can support your body, and that's what the film's all about.
Were you surprised by what you discovered making this film?
Absolutely. I mean, I was...
And you're in the business.
I was shocked. I mean, I'm in the business and I discovered even more of this information. I guess that was such a motivating factor for me wanting to create the film. I'm like, wow, you know, people need to know this. And it's not talked about, and so the medium of film was perfect for us. We can touch lots of people, and hence the sort of global internet release we've got going on tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's the concept, getting it out there.
Yeah, and you're doing the right thing with the global internet release because it's all about that, what's the expression? Marketing on the internet.
Like viral marketing.
Viral marketing,
exactly,
that's the word, yeah.
Well, I think the internet's incredibly powerful. We can touch people from Scandinavia to Denmark to the Middle East and Australia at the same time, and we're all human, we need this information.
Yeah, we do.
It's great to meet you, James. And the film is called Food Matters, and it's a terrific film. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Fantastic. Thanks,
Very
David.
hard-hitting. Thanks.